I was just in Hawaii for a friend's wedding, and here's how I saved over $1,400 on this 5-day trip using credit cards. Where using all the card's benefits and points, I was able to save throughout my trip, from purchases on flights, hotels, and car rentals, to insurance, dining, and more. In fact, later we'll talk about how I was able to save on everything that I spent on. And I'm sure that by implementing at least one of the strategies in this video, you'll start saving on all your future trips too. Now let's jump right into the first category of savings, and that's on the flights, where surprisingly I did not use my points to book these flights, which I did do on my past 2 trips this year, and that's for 2 reasons. One, I usually save my points for bookings in more premium cabins like business class, given that's usually where you get more value from your points. For example, taking a look at this all too familiar Aeroplan chart, a flight from the West Coast over to Asia would cost you 50,000 points in economy, but only 75,000 points for business, an increase of 50%. Whereas with cash, an economy ticket would cost say $700, but a business class ticket would cost $3,600. That's over 5 times the cost. You still get some value from your points, but personally my interest with points and the work I put in is to get higher value through these more premium cabin experiences. And then reason number 2 is the lack of good options departing from Seattle. Almost all the airlines flying direct from Seattle use their smaller 737 planes, where the business class is technically just a wider seat with a steeper recline, except for Hawaiian Airlines that flies an A330 with their 222 business class layout with their fully lie-flat seats. Unfortunately, Hawaiian Airlines points are not easy to get, nor are they that valuable, and they're just not that great redemptions around those flights. Instead, they do have a bidding system where you can set the amount you're willing to pay for their premium cabins, and then see if your bid gets accepted or not. So instead, I paid cash booking direct with Hawaiian Airlines for a price of $488 USD each, or a total of $976 USD for 2 tickets. But because of my American Express Platinum card, which gives me 5 times points when booking direct with the airlines, that amounted to 4,880 points, which at a value of about 2 cents per point is $96.60 saved in value. You could lower or raise that bar depending on how much value you get for your points, but personally I've redeemed over 700,000 points just this year alone, between the ranges of 3 to 5 cents per point. So I do think for my case, 2 cents per point is a fair value. I then also made a bid for the premium cabin at slightly above minimum. I think it was about $400 per seat or so, but unfortunately they did not get accepted. There are a couple decent alternatives using points booking this route, like going through British Airways Avios and booking Alaska for about 15,000 miles each way, but it wasn't available, and again I did want to try and go for the Hawaiian Airlines premium cabin. So with these flights, I'll pin that as a savings of $97.60. Moving on, lounge access. Unfortunately, there wasn't that much lounge access throughout this trip, given it only touched on 2 cities, Seattle and Honolulu. Starting over at SeaTac, our flight was really early at about 7:30 a.m., but fortunately the new Centurion Lounge opens at 5 a.m. Unfortunately though, because I didn't hit the $75K to spend in a calendar year to unlock guests for the Centurion Lounges, I was only limited to 1 access for myself. So ended up doing a quick loop and meal to see how the lounge has improved. And wow, was it really nice, with a bar area with tons of seating, decent food, and even a coffee area with different drinks, as well as small bites and a smoothie bar after 11 a.m, which unfortunately didn't get to try. There's also a dedicated area for Centurion cardholders, as well as a pretty clean and modern bathroom with showers on the other side. All in all, I think with my short time here, with a decent meal, a smoothie shot, and my latte, I'd give it a solid value of about $20. Maybe if you had more time, got drinks at the bar or the smoothies after 11 a.m, I could see a value of $30 to $40, not surprising. But for the sake of this video, let's pin that at $20. Then on the way back from Honolulu, the only lounge available with the cards I had was the Plumera Lounge at Terminal 1. And I know this is somewhat common, but it's my first time encountering this. They were actually at capacity and were no longer accepting Priority Pass members, which was a bummer. So with that, let's bump up our savings another $20 to a total of $117.60. Next, we have rideshare from home to SeaTac and the other way around. This one's pretty simple, but honestly, rideshares have become so much more expensive. At first, I wanted to use my $15 Uber credit that comes with my Amex Platinum, but checking Uber, the cost was a whopping $65. When checking on Lyft, it was only $50, so of course I went with the latter option. That's then about $100 for both ways, but using my Chase cards, which has a 5% back on Lyft rides, that's about 500 points, which at 2 cents per point is a value of $10, putting the total savings up another notch to $127.60. And speaking of rides, when we were in Honolulu, we decided to do a car rental for the 4 full days. Given we'd be going around the island a lot, and it just made sense given all the perks I have on a specific card, as well as the lower rates provided by my work. Essentially, by booking with my Capital One Venture X card, I was able to make use of 2 very important benefits. First, the primary auto collision damage waiver, which is an insurance against damages from theft or collision to the car. This is up to 15 days when you're within your country of residency, or 31 days when outside of that, but given this was just for 4 full days here in the US, it falls within that criteria. And so by getting this benefit for free, that's a savings of $30 a day over the 4 days for a total of $120. But second, I also get to use my Hertz President Circle status that comes with the card, kind of. You see, and I'm not sure if this was a misunderstanding or it's the first time I'm learning this, but when approaching the gold board, I can see that beside my name, it was listed as a regular gold member, not President Circle. And when I talked to the agent, they mentioned that for your very first rental, they need to verify some of your information and that you don't actually get your full status until the second rental and onwards. Let me know down in the comments what your first Hertz rental was like, especially if you have the Venture card as well. But it was only a few days and I still got to choose the car that I wanted from a specific area, which was still an upgrade from the tier that I paid for. So it wasn't too bad. All in all though, I paid for a lower tier car, then got upgraded to a full-size sedan, which is the actual tier that I wanted, given we'd be traveling around the island with a full car of people. So I consider that a savings of another $90, which was the difference between the 2 tiers across those 4 days. Which means in total for the car rentals, that's $210 in savings, bumping up the total to $337.60. Alright, now maybe in your future trips you won't have a car rental, but you probably will need a place to stay, so here's how I saved on my hotels. First, a caveat, I did split my stay into 2 separate stays of 2 nights, but you don't have to. You can still save a decent amount by just doing 1 stay, but I wanted to both maximize the credits I had and experience different types of rooms, which we'll get to. And because most of Waikiki was within walking distance and we had a car, it wasn't too big of a deal. With that said, on my first 2 nights, I wanted to use the $200 hotel credit that comes with my Amex Platinum card. And so looking through the fine hotels and resorts or the hotel collection list, one hotel stood up that wasn't too expensive, and that was Halapuna, which ended up totaling $778 USD for the 2 nights. Most hotels of that caliber around the area were upwards of $300 a night anyways, so it wasn't that far off. But by booking through this hotel collection, it allowed me to save $200 from the hotel credit here, as well as $100 for the experience credit, which we decided to use towards the 2 nights of parking. Also, because this was booked through Amex Travel, it's giving me 5 times points or $38.90 in points, where at 2 cents per point is a value of $77.80. Meaning across these first 2 nights, that was a savings of $377.80 purely by using the American Express Platinum card. Then on the latter 2 nights, we switched over to the Hyatt Place, which at cash value would have costed $672.04. Instead, we used points, transferring my Chase points over to Hyatt and booking this hotel room for just 12,000 points a night, or a total of 24,000 points. If you then take the division of the 2, you get a points value of about 2.8 cents per point, which is a decent step higher than my average 2 cents per point. I will consider this a full savings of $672 because 24,000 points is actually quite common to come by, given you can already get this amount from the welcome bonuses of the no annual fee Chase Freedom cards. But that's not the only reason. I have a friend who actually has globalist status through a challenge earlier in the year where you only needed to stay 20 nights instead of the typical 60. In fact, a similar challenge was opened earlier this year in April through the Built Rewards program. And by being globalists, they can make a hotel booking for someone else under the Guest of Honors program, making it so that hotel booking itself will have basically all of the same perks as a regular globalist. And so in doing so, we got perks like late checkout even though we didn't need it, daily breakfast, free parking which was valet at this location, and upgrades which could include suites. There were also a few perks special to this location included in the destination fee, which was also covered, like a tote bag, reusable bottles, beach stuff, and more. And unlike Halapuna, here we actually did get an upgrade, not to a suite, but a bigger room which was apparently double the size of a regular room. It has some decent views, but the decor could use some updating given it was a little bit more run down, especially when it comes to the really slow elevators. Though because not everyone can get this perk, I won't add any of these to the running total of savings, but I think it's worth a mention in case you do have a friend who has a globalist perk and be willing to help you book while you can give them points back through a transfer, which is allowed through Hyatt, where members can either give or receive points once every 30 days. All in all, when it comes to the hotel savings, it's $377.80 for the first half and $672 for the latter half, totaling $1,049.80 for this hotel portion, giving us a total of $1,387.40. Alright, now everyone has to eat, and how much you save depends on which type of cards you have. For example, if you have the Marriott Bonvoy Brilliant card, you could be saving the $25 a month where you get towards dining. Or with the Amex Gold, save using your $10 per month towards select restaurants, including the Cheesecake Factory, which to my surprise had a really long lineup. On the other hand, if you don't have any of those cards like me, then you could use cards like the Chase Freedom or Chase Sapphire cards, as well as the Amex Green to get 3 times points on those dining spend. Personally, because I value Chase slightly more, I decided to use my Sapphire Preferred card as my primary dining card throughout my trip, giving me 3 times points on all of that spend, which again at a 2 cents per point average is about a 6% back in value. I don't usually keep track of every dollar spent on food during vacation, but between the two of us foodies over 4 full days and having some celebratory meals given it was a friend's wedding, I'd say about $100 per day per person, or a total of $800, giving 2,400 points, which at a value of 2 cents per point is $48, bumping up our running total to $1,436.40. And then like I mentioned earlier in this video, I basically was able to save on all of my spend. From miscellaneous purchases, clothing, tickets to different activities and attractions. This is where a catch-all card comes in. Maybe you have the Chase Freedom Unlimited giving you 1.5 times points on all of that spend, or you have the Active Cash or Double Cash cards giving you 2 times points for all of that spend. Or you're like me and get 2 times miles on all of that spend on the Capital One Venture X. There are a lot of different options out there, including many no annual fee ones that will ensure you're saving on everything that you spend on. And with a lot of these points having a pretty fair value of 2 cents per point, that's like getting 4% back in value for all of your spend. It's pretty strong and does add up over time. Now you might wonder, are you really saving with these cards if you're paying a lot in annual fees? Well, sort of. First of all, nothing on this trip was using an insane number of points. The max was the 24,000 points for the 2 nights at Hyatt Place, which again could be had from the welcome bonuses on either of the Chase Freedom cards. Other cards are ones that can be justified based on your own lifestyle. For example, here on the Venture X, it's already more than paid for every year purely from the $300 in travel credit through their portal and the $100 worth of points you get every anniversary year, which means perks like the primary auto rental collision damage waiver and the Hertz President Circle is like free. With the Amex Platinum, I already get more than the annual fee and value from all the other perks and benefits, like the airline credits, Uber credit, Saks Fifth Avenue, Clear credit, Hilton, and Marriott status, which could make it so the hotel credit and the lounge access could be considered free as well. Even if using these credits were to get you to just break even with all of these cards, there's still the massive welcome bonus that initially came with the card, like getting 75,000 points for the Venture X or up to 150,000 points on the Amex Platinum, being worth a possible $1,500 or $3,000 respectively, when valued at about 2 cents per point, more than enough to cover their annual fees multiple times. That's all to say that credit cards are really powerful in helping you save on all aspects of your travel or day-to-day life, but only if you avoid some major mistakes that could cost you hundreds or even thousands. So go on and check out this video for the full rundown.